What is up, Duelist Arson Crofts here with your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format action. Today's feature match, we've got Herney Hog versus Scrub 2000. As always, both players, at the time this match was played, were rated in the top 200 spots on the Dueling Book GOAT format ladder. Let's get into it. Little RPS action. Herney Hog takes it down. And it's going to start us off with a Pot of Greed, so going up one card already. Not too bad. Into a T-set pass. All right, Scrub a little bit behind here, but still plenty of game left to play. Going to counter with their own T-set pass, so tempo advantage here to Herney Hog temporarily. We're going to go flip summon Gravekeeper Spy. Going in attack position, the second Spy, which signifies Herney Hog probably has like a Nobleman of Crossout. And they'll start punching for some damage, so yeah, hitting that. Banishing their opponent's Spy, which is quite good. Sequencing-wise, if you know you're going to go Nobleman of Crossout, you're going to want to flip your Spy first, so you can summon it out, and then you don't care about all the other Spies banished. In fact, you're probably happy about, if you're running the third Spy, it getting banished, because it's kind of a dead draw at this point. So, correct sequencing here from Herney Hog based on this play, and they will be rewarded with a potential shot for 2,400 damage. That will come in, so Herney Hog using the first... the tempo advantage from going first pretty well so far and getting off to a strong start. Scrub 2000 first play got hit with Nobleman of Crossout and already down to 5,600 life points with potentially more damage to come. They have a Pot of Greed of their own here, though, to start equalizing this card advantage. And they draw into Snatch Steal, which is a nice one-card way to deal with Spies, if at least one of them is in attack position. And that is what we're going to see happen. Spies trade with each other, and Herney Hog's board has been dealt with. Scrub will follow this up with a set monster of their own, so dealing with the early aggression quite well, and now tempo advantage slightly in Scrub's favor here. We'll see if Herney Hog has an answer to this play. Nobleman of Crossout number 2 is the tidiest way of dealing with it. So banishing a Magician of Faith, alright, so lots of goodies here getting banished out from both players. Scrub at least on the 2. Herney Hog must have theirs in hand with a lot of good stuff in grave. So you got to be wary of that. If you're Scrub 2000, you basically just learned that most likely Herney Hog is rocking some faiths in hand. It's going to set a back row pass. Assuming Herney Hog does have the faith in hand, you might not want to just run it out here willy-nilly. Or you could just be running no faiths at all, which would be kind of interesting. But Scrub, what's your play? I'm going to go normal summon Sangan, start getting in for a little bit of damage. Kind of a difficult monster to deal with, even if it's only 1,000 a turn. It is a good way to just put a little bit of pressure on your opponent. And then another back row added to the board there. Herney Hog, let's see what the play is. Jar of Greed to draw a little bit further into the deck. Into set a monster, set a bunch of back row. Scrub here. We're going to go Heavy Storm, nice. Pro set heavy, so potential +1 here, depending on what Herney has set. Chain Ceasefire, interesting. So not a card you always see in these decks. Their own monster must not be a flip monster, because otherwise Ceasefire would negate it. So we'll see what it is. Chain Jar of Greed, so Scrub getting a little bit of value here. Oh, wow, okay, so Herney Hog is playing some sort of burn deck, it looks like. This could be one of that... There's like a Chaos Burn deck that's been kind of floating around the ladder recently. Could be rocking that, perhaps. But Heavy Storm getting a lot of value-ish here. Yo, Chain Ojama Trio. Yeah, to fill up Scrub's board. Just Desserts will be able to hit for 2k. Ceasefire will be able to hit for another 1,000. So Scrub going down a lot of life, and... yeah, Spies and Burn. Man, there's no deck in the format that can't play Spies, really. I guess besides maybe, like, Reasoning Gate and, like, other combo decks. But even, just being able to attack for 2,400 damage with one card as early as turn 2, turns out Burn is pretty happy to do that. And it is a Giant Rat that was set. Pretty typical card in these Burn lists. But pretty cool deck so far here out of Herney Hog. Likely caught Scrub by surprise. I was thinking, and so was Scrub, like, all the early plays here pointed towards just a regular Chaos Turbo list, right? Spies, Nox, Pot, Jar. But then getting surprised here with these burn cards and Scrub, you might have considered holding Heavy Storm here if you knew you were playing against burn. Either way, Chain will resolve. Scrub will take a lot of damage. But now the back row is clear for them to potentially mount some sort of offense. Scrub is going to go ahead with a Thunder Dragon. Drawn to a couple more. So now this is an interesting call. Oftentimes, when you are playing against burn, because you don't want like all the cards in hand, sometimes you can just Thunder Dragon just for one copy of it, and then do it again for another copy, just to slim down your cards in hand, but choosing not to go that route this time. Just going to stick Sangan in defense, add a back row and a set monster. And Herney Hog on this interesting burn list here only has 2,600 life points to deal with here for the win. Level limit area B is going to come through, not doing anything right now, but preventing their giant rat from getting offensive, but you probably don't care too much about that. Scrub, we're going to go flip summon Night Assailant, pretty good card against burn. It'll deal with the giant rat without triggering its floating effect. And now you can start getting in for 1,200 a turn. Sangan just naturally good against burn because it's a level 3, so it gets under level limit area B and gravity bind. Night Assailant, of course, level 3 as well, so this is going to be 1,200 a turn. Coming in, not a terrible clock. When you're playing fair decks against burn, generally you want to be the aggressor because burn decks, there's a reason why they play these stall cards, right? They're just looking for a critical mass of cards to just trade directly for your life points, right? So if they're able to stall out and just draw a bunch of cards, you're probably going to lose because they can just convert them directly to damage. So cards like Sangan become very, very important if you're playing like a turbo list because it's basically free-ish pressure underneath the common stall pieces. So Scrub down a bunch of life here, but does have a clock here on Herney Hog, so things aren't looking too terrible here in game 1 for them. But, you know, rogue or less common decks like burn, right? Not that it's not like a commonly seen deck in the format, but generally you're not main decking cards that are anti-burn. Their goal is to kind of win game 1, right? And then scrap it out games 2 and 3 when the opponent sides in a bunch of their hate. So the fact that you're putting up as good of a fight as you are here as Scrub in game 1 bodes pretty well, I would say. Herney Hog's got Giant Trunade to clear out the back row. That will resolve. And we got Injection Fairy Lily. Is this just game over this Night Assailant? I think it is. And there you go. So I spoke too soon. Scrub not doing particularly well there. But Burn taking it down game 1 here against Scrub. Pretty cool deck here. Burn with Spies out of Herney Hog. Not sure if it's a true like Chaos Burn hybrid like we've seen sometimes, or if it's just Burn with Spies. But either way, those Spies doing pretty good, and I think the element of surprise definitely favored them that game, because Scrub was just kind of playing as if they were playing against Chaos Turbo. So yeah, we'll go to game 2 here. Scrub will lead us out. Just gonna go T-set pass. Herney Hog's just going to set a back row pass here, and we're going to get end phase Dust Tornado on the set card, which is a Jar of Greed. Okay, so this is generally when you're playing, you know, presumably Scrub is on turbo here. Generally, you want to save your back row removal for those stall pieces, like the Gravity Binds and the Level Limit Area Bs, because you only have so many of these in the deck, and those are the main cards that stop you from winning the game, right? Like, yes, it's good to sometimes snipe a back row to prevent your opponent from burning you, but that only matters if you're at risk of losing here, right? So I wonder if Scrub might have been a little bit too hasty here with the Dust Tornado, just hitting a Jar of Greed. We'll see if that comes back to bite them in the future. But for now, they have a free board here to make some plays. We're going to go flip some into Koichi, start applying pressure, draw a card, get in for 14. It's a pretty solid start here. And they can add another set monster and a back row. Herney Hog. How do you respond? Level Limit Area B. Potentially something you would have wanted to save the Dust Tornado for, maybe. That'll turn Koichi into defense position. They're going to add another back row pass. Scrub here, are you just locked out from level limit? Oh, we got Breaker here to deal with that. Quite good. It will get turned to defense before it can potentially attack this turn, but it will be able to pop the level limit. And now Dekoichi and potentially, oh, Gravekeeper Spy can get in for some damage as well. Okay, so now this is also interesting. Spy coming in, going into defense position. Generally, you want to side out Gravekeeper Spy against Burn because it's level 4, so it doesn't really get under the stall pieces. And it's 2 monsters for 1 card, so if the Burn player just plays Ojama Trio and you're running Spy, you just get like Ojama locked for free, essentially, right? So generally the play is to side out Spies, but maybe you just don't have too much to side out here, depending on how your deck is tweaked. Going into defense position with this Spy is a little bit interesting to me as well, because you're not really too worried about like Mirror Force and stuff, like, but I guess we'll see. Gonna get in for 26 here, and maybe your clock doesn't change too much, even with the attack position Spy. So being a little bit more conservative here. Gonna add a back row pass, and Herny Hog, you got a lot of damage coming in. I think this, if everything was to swing next turn, this definitely would be lethal, right? Yep. So you have a lot of threats to deal with. Gonna go set a monster, set a back row pass, trying to wall out this aggression here from Scrub. Something like a Gravity Bind would go pretty crazy here, of course. Scrub is going to lead out with a Jar of Greed, thinning the deck a little bit. Into Upstart, continuing to thin the deck, and okay. Likely trying to dig for a Nobleman of Crossout or something to do with the set card. Set cards in Burn are pretty scary because they like to play Morphing Jar and Cyber Jar, which if they resolve is almost an auto win for Burn because they just end up getting, like I was saying before, that critical mass of cards that they need to kind of just burn you for 8,000, right? So being able to pop sets, whether it's through a Nobleman of Crossout or by Raigeki Break, BLS, that's very, very important in the matchup. Scrub is going to go out with a Thunder Dragon here. Looks like that's what they drew off the Upstart. Going to grab both in the hand here. Once again, not the end of the world. You could maybe save some of your health to play around Secret Barrel by just pitching both and keeping one in hand. Still playing around Mirror Force by going defense mode with these Spies, but doesn't look like they have any way of dealing with this set monster besides just attacking into it. And it is just a Gravekeeper Spy, quote unquote. That is a good way to wall out this aggression, though. Fernie Hog will be able to summon out another copy of that, create a wall here, and now, if Gravity Bind and Level Limit Area B aren't enough to stall the opponent out, like, I mean, Spy is essentially a floodgate as well, right? Just big 2,000 defense, pretty hard to deal with for a standard deck. That's why it's kind of ubiquitous in the format. And Herny Hog has this wall going, and you're probably pretty happy about that if you're the Burn player. Gonna go set a back row pass. Scrub, okay. Tribe Infecting Virus is a way to get rid of these Spies. It's gonna blow up a lot of your board as well, but you can't just afford to sit back and get walled out turn after turn, so some sacrifices must be made. Sorry, Breaker. Sorry, Spies. Gonna use that, gonna discard one of those Thunder Dragons to clear out the Spellcasters. We're gonna chain Ceasefire for a ton of damage, though. That's 3,500? Sheesh! That's a big Ceasefire. And yeah, using it before the Tribe effect resolves to get maximum damage for it. That is a ton of... That's like the most damage I've ever seen out of a Ceasefire, honestly. Pretty sure. That was pretty crazy. And, a little bit of a combo here with Gravekeeper Spy, right? And a little bit of a non-bow for the player who's playing against Burn who kept in Gravekeeper Spy. So, another reason why it's not the best card in the matchup. But Herny Hog with the spice here, I'm not, I don't play a lot of Burn. I don't watch too much Burn. I'm not sure how common Spies in the deck are, but they've used it to great effect this game. And like I said earlier, it's like, man, what deck in the format does not want to run Gravekeeper Spy? It's kind of crazy. Such a good card. Board is cleared out here, though, for Scrub. They've got 3,000 damage worth of monsters coming in here. Gonna hit in. But we got Magic Cylinder to say no you to the Tribe. bouncing back that 1600 damage, keeping Hernihog ahead in the life point game. That is going to be a -1, but you've knocked Scrub down to only 2500, and like I said before, Burn generally doesn't care about card advantage outside of its ability to convert directly to damage, so getting in for, 3,500 damage from one burn card is very, very strong. If you're playing burn, generally you want your cards to hit for around 2,000 damage. The math being like then you need to resolve 4 burn cards to win the game. And it's relatively easy with Ojama Trio to set up roughly 2,000 damage worth of burn from your Just Desserts and your Secret Barrels, although we haven't seen that in Hernihog's list yet. So getting 3,500 damage out of a single ceasefire is like insane. And then Magic Cylinder only hitting for 1,600, but it does keep you ahead in the race here. So not the worst use of Cylinder. Not the best card in Burn, but it can kind of win you games out of nowhere. So I appreciate it for the surprise factor at least. Scrub, though, just going to pass. Hernihog, you got 2,500 damage to deal with just now. Giant Shrunade to try and clear out the board. We're going to chain Jar of Greed to draw a little bit further in, and then Chain will resolve. So the back row is empty for Hernihog to have their way with Scrub 2000. We're going to get Snatch Steal to steal the Tribe Infecting Virus. Effect discarding a pretty much dead Mind Con to clear the way for maximum damage. And then Breaker for game. There you go. Yeah. Wow, there you go. 2 games to 0. I don't even know if this is Panda Burn or not. We didn't see a single Panda. We saw Giant Rat, so it makes you think they're probably playing Panda. But Burn with Spies 2-0ing a pretty standard Chaos Turbo list. Using, just really taking the element of surprise in game 1, and then here in game 2, just resolving some massive, massive cards here, and then Trunade to clear the way for the final push. Classic play in these more, aggressive burn strategies, and Scrub could just not keep up. And there you have it, folks. 2-0 to Burn. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you all next time.